I know, just teasing. Yes, can you take one, please? Thank you. Okay, can I say first?
A profile adapted for you, because it's light check with a not low altitude, but only flight 310.
310, we'll be
Yes,
flying
yes.
310, and our average speed will be?
Or in cruise at 8.2.
8.2. Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
This is channel number 1 of boarding music program number 1. This is channel number 1 of boarding music program number 1.
The flight test instrumentation station, so we conduct all the flight testing from here. It's normally we can see all the parameters here. Now it's switched off because we are preparing the aircraft for the cabin.
Fasten seatbelt announcement.
But we are able to check all the parameters.
We need to just check the names of everybody on board just to validate the passenger manifest. So I've switched on the seatbelt sign. Could you please sit down? The captain, and it's my pleasure, perhaps a rather unexpected pleasure, to be able to welcome you on board this A350 for a demonstration flight. With me on the flight deck, we've got Frank Chapman, who is the project pilot for the A350, and our test flight engineer for this aeroplane, Bruno Bigand. And you'll see later on down at the flight test engineer station, Fernando Alonso, who you've already met this morning, Patrick Duché and Sandra Borschafer. They're our flight test engineers on this flight, and they will each of them be presenting to you after this flight, so you'll see them again later. Also on board, we have a number of our cabin specialists, and you'll recognise them because they're wearing uniform. They're led by Anne Kerrian. They're here principally for your safety, so they please obey anything they ask you to do. But also, if you want any information, feel free to ask them. So we should be ready to push back in a moment. We are just having to confirm exactly the passenger numbers before we can push back, and then we'll be pushing back for a flight of about 1 hour. We'll be taking off on runway 32 left, so we'll be taking off initially towards the northwest and then turning down to the southwest, and I've asked the controllers if they can let us go down towards the Pyrenees, so during the flight we should have a good view of the mountains down there. We'll be climbing up to around 30,000 feet, and as I say, the flight should last for about an hour. Once we're airborne, I will switch off the seatbelt signs, but you can already see that the airplane is nearly full, so although you are free to move around, you may find it more comfortable to stay seated. And please, when I switch the seatbelt signs back on again for the return to Toulouse, fairly quickly go back to your seats so that we can be ready for the landing. As Fernando said earlier on, this is a test airplane, so when you do get up and move around, please be very careful of all the test equipment. You'll be able to identify, but please try and avoid stepping on the orange wires and the test boxes. And just finally, a number of you have been asking what the call sign of the airplane is and some details. So our call call sign today is going to be Alpha India Bravo, so AIB 31 Charlie Foxtrot CF. So Alpha India Bravo 31 Charlie Foxtrot. And just for information, the airplane today is relatively light, so we're at 192 tons, and we have 30 tons of fuel on board. So Frank is going to be flying the first part of the flight, and I will come back to you on the public address and give you some information about the flight once we're airborne. In the meantime, if you could take your seats now, please, and sit back and enjoy the flight. Thank you.
The front, in the centre, and at the back. All exits are equipped with a slide raft for use on land or in water. All exits are indicated by exit signs. In case of an emergency, all emergency lights and floor path marking will illuminate and guide you to the nearest emergency exit. All exits and aisles again, we've now done a turn back towards the east, so those on the right-hand side now have a nice view of the mountains. Outside, if you look out of the window, you'll see we have a visitor. The French Air Force have come to say hello, and there is a Rafale just sitting about 1,000 meters off our left-hand side.
So I'm Peter Chandler, I'm the Chief Test Pilot here at Airbus, but I've been involved in the A350 design and development right from the start of it, and I was involved in the first flight of the 350. And today we did a flight, it was just under an hour airborne in the number 2 aeroplane, MSN2, which is the one we have flying at the moment with the development cabin. We went up to 31,000 feet. And we flew around over the Pyrenees. It was a lovely day, so the views of the Pyrenees were very good. And then we came back and landed at Toulouse after just under 1 hour.
So generally, what were the inputs in the design process of the plane? You said that you were involved in that. From the pilot perspective, generally, what do you specify? What do you ask for?
Every aspect of the cockpit has to come through to be validated by the pilots that are involved in the design, and so virtually every aspect of that. So the design, things which have changed, some of the warning system has changed, some of the layout of the cockpit, 1 or 2 of the control panels, all of those I was involved, as was Frank, who was flying with me, with the design office in helping to define that to start with, and then in terms of developing it and validating it.
Very shortly, what's the basic improvement in the new cockpit design from comparing to the previous planes in the A350?
Well, you probably know that the A320, A330, A340 have a common cockpit which is almost identical, and so until we got to the A380, nothing really had changed very much from the original 320 layout. There were some small improvements. When we did the 380, We kept the basic philosophy of the cockpit, so the way the displays on the primary flight display, the way the side stick works, the way the autopilot controls work, all that we kept the same, but we took the opportunity to introduce large displays, a cursor trackball system for the interface, which again is much more efficient than what there is in the 320, 330, 340. Now in the 350, we've basically taken the 380 cockpit and added some more improvements. It's based on the 380 cockpit, but it has some even nicer features even than the 380. So it's mostly with the interfaces, the large screens, the way that you interact with the systems.
And the final question: the French Air Force surprise, was it planned, and what was the operational thing there?
The Rafale fighter that came up and joined us in the air, I was asked just before takeoff whether I would allow the fighter to come and meet us. Now it's not unusual, we work a lot with the test radar controllers, and they often control the fighters as well, so it's not unusual for them to ask if there's a fighter airborne. They ask for their own practice whether they can just come and intercept us. I said yes today to that, so long as he stayed at least 500 meters away from us, because with passengers on board I didn't want an airplane coming too close. So it was just at their request. It's part of their training, but it was actually nice for us all to be able to see an airplane up there close to us.
The experience was spectacular. Thank you very much once again.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.